The NFL is filled with superstars who you'll see on cool graphics, getting all the attention on Sundays, and even showing up in commercials. Yet in no other sports do all 11 players on the field matter as much as in football, and a lot of great performances can slip under the radar. So what I wanted to do today is look at 6 players, 3 on offense and defense each, who have been tremendous so far this season, but haven't received the attention that they deserve. Since all but the final one of them played this past week and inspired me to make this video, I'll highlight 3 clips for each of them leading up to the most recent showing, and then 3 more from those contests, showcasing some of the elements of their games that make them so good. Let's shine a light on these underappreciated guys, starting off with rookie running back Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers, who has carried the ball 133 times and caught another 35 passes, and just cracked the 1,000-yard mark this past weekend, on 5.5 yards per carry and 8.1 yards per reception, scoring 6 total touchdowns so far. He ranks 7th among all running backs with 50 plus carries and breakaway run percentage, meaning runs of 15 plus yards, at 34.9%. He's forced 38 missed tackles so far, which is tied for 10th on just the 20th most carries, giving him the highest elusive rating in PFF's database as a runner, and he has another 17 missed tackles forced on catches, so basically 1 every second grab. He's also third among running backs with 1.73 yards per route run, has only dropped 1 pass and 1 other target that wasn't caught this way. And funnily enough, the guy compared Bucky to in his pre-draft process, based on how I viewed him compared to the draft media, was Kyren Williams of the LA Rams, purely based on being undersized and having a slow 40-yard dash for NFL standards. And I talked about that guy early last year before he really took off, and I think ended up leading the league in rushing yards per game. Let's look at some of the tape now for this young man. Early in the season, Bucky was used more as a gadget player, who offensive coordinator Liam Cohen designed touches for, and then used them as eye candy off that for the defense. On this first clip, he's kind of hidden as the number 2 receiver at the top of the screen. They bring him jet motion across the formation, but at the snap, he's going to reverse course and run a counter to the right side, where he already starts to show that ability to navigate the condensed space and ultimately break free out to the sideline. I'll show in a second here what they're doing schematically. So now from the end zone angle, you can really see it. First they're going to be the motion with Bucky working across, as you've got the left tackle pulling across for this kick out on the defensive end, with the rest of the line pretty much just blocking down. The comfort for the rookie here to contort his body in order to reduce the surface area for would-be tacklers, tightly hugging his blocks, and then sticks his foot in the ground and gets out of traffic for a chunk gain. That's how you make an impression on the coaching staff as a young player. 5 weeks later against the Falcons, he's running a similar concept, now as a GT counter, but from a traditional running back spot behind his quarterback in his pistol set. The rookie's gonna do a nice job here of setting this up by altering his pace, allowing the hole to develop, before making one of the league's best safeties in Jesse Bates miss one-on-one. You'll see it better here in a second once we switch around the view perspective. So again, left guard comes across with his kick out on the end, the left tackle falls behind, and it's supposed to wrap around here to take care of this inside back on the play side, while I've got the rest of the line pretty much just blocking down, and the tight end on the backside on this hinge block just trying to take care of the backside edge. But what actually happens here is this defensive end, right at the point of attack, he's going to what you call wrong shoulder the puller, meaning he's going to force this play to spill outside, which now forces the tackle to work around it, and the running back to be quite patient to let this sort itself out, which Bucky clearly is. As you see here, he's going to press the outside shoulder of the tackle, forcing the linebacker to work out that way and get himself leveraged, slices underneath it, and now check out this dead leg move that he puts on Bates here. That is some nasty stuff. Another jump cut added onto it, and now he finally gets tracked down after a nice chunk gain. This third clip is from a couple of weeks ago against the Giants, where first the Bucs are going to motion the tight end across to create a 3x1. They have a couple of curl routes at the top, this backside glance that isn't really that relevant right now, and then you've got this lead swing element, is what I refer to it. Shown him a couple of times where the tight end, he's going to be blocking out in front if Baker decides to just basically turn this into a screen pass out to Bucky here. As we watch this unfold, he does set a block out here on the corner, but the defense does a good job of falling off this action inside here and leveraging the ball. That of course is before Bucky crosses up this first man. then sticks his foot on the ground and now breaks all the way across the field, making defenders run into each other. Peeks one of his linemen here, getting out in front, trying to help him out, dips underneath that block, and this is really the only thing that is kind of missing with his game here, that breakaway speed to potentially take this all the way. But as we watch what happens from the rookie's perspective, some of the things that really stand out to me, the spatial awareness that he shows, how well he stacks moves one on top of each other, the peripheral vision to allow his lineman to set up another key block, and then an underrated element, carrying the ball high and tight here to not have it punched out from behind. That is all outstanding. Now let's get to Sunday Carolina, but Bucky touched the ball 28 times for a career high 185 yards and a touchdown. This first one, I'm not sure what they'd call it in their terminology, but for the purposes of this, let's go with athlete. The Bucs started with two tight ends to the left, they bring one of them across and he'll be responsible for the D-end here yet again, as the Panthers slant the D-line that way. And then you're going to see this other tight end wrap around through the frontside A-gap to kind of find work as you have plus numbers to that side. Bucky does a nice job of pressing that way, and then cutting this back as he sees the backside overflow with the play. We're going to flip things around here once again. I can't really draw this up from the end zone angle because of the movement at the snap. But as you try to decipher all these lines that I drew up here to kind of showcase what they're doing, what this really shows is how well the rookie already plays with the defense, as the advantage they have from a design perspective forces the second level to try and make up by scraping half from the backside. But as we watch this unfold now, that now opens up a cutback path for the runner to punish them for another nice gain. Stiff arm gets taken down, but that's like 12-13 yards, and it's there in a hurry. On the next clip from a dropback pass game, the Bucs are running a switch concept at the top of the screen out of an ace set with a tight end to either end of the line. We've got the out route working into that voided space, and then a late over route the other way, and of course the running back has the swing route. The Panthers are bringing pressure off the slot and with this inside backer here, while playing a free fire zone behind it, which really means nothing more than bringing 5 and then playing 3 underneath and 3 deep. This linebacker in the middle of the field has to bump out with Bucky. It looks like he has a good angle initially here to create a stop, but check out number 7, put on the brakes here, jump inside of him, add one more move, and then set his team up inside the opposing 5-yard line. One more time from the running back's perspective as he runs this swing out to the left, puts that move on the backer here out on the flats, who can only grab cloth as he gets beat here. If you can't block it, replace the blitz, but you need a guy who can make something happen when you do get him in space, and this kid certainly can. And Irving really took over in the second half with this 43-yard burst to set up a key field goal. They once again bring one of the tight ends in motion from this balance set to take care of the end man out here. But it's the other tight end here, number 87, who'll trap the nose tackle. Bucky's able to get skinny through the hole, puts a stiff arm on the deep safety, and kind of turns around this corner as well, trying to not get beat out to the sideline before taking off and getting run down well inside the red zone already. Final look at the rookie here. Again, tough to draw up, but I'll try it for you guys. I told you it wasn't going to be easy, but you've got vertical combo blocks by both the guard and tackle duos. The center's going to work off this nose tackle and take care of the backside edge, while I've got the tight end coming in from the side and trap number 99 here. But check out how this young player uses body language to make this work. First he stays tight here to create more space for himself, with the nose here and the Mike backer leverage that way. Then he leans outside to keep the box safety. He has the unblocked man from jumping over, hugging his blocker, has the straight arm ready for the deep man here, and even now threatening that he'll break out to the sideline to make it tougher for the corner to catch up to him. That's some highly advanced stuff from a player just 12 games into his NFL career. Moving on to a second player now, which is tight end Tucker Kraft of the Packers, has caught 36 passes for 480 yards, so 13.3 yards per reception and 6 touchdowns, plus a couple of rushing first downs on his 2 carries where he was motioned inside for quarterback sneaks. He does have 5 drops, but still a passer rating of 135.2 when targeted. Kraft is tied for 6th among all tight ends and wide receivers with 4.4 yards of separation on average, And a lot of that has to do with him getting more free releases than guys on the perimeter and the areas of the field that they work at. But Kraft does have an average depth of target of 4.8 yards, and he's been a monster once the ball is in his hands, with 9.6 yards after the catch per reception, thanks to leading his position with 13 missed tackles forced, despite being 19th in total catches. He only has 2 contested targets so far, but he did bring in one of those. But let's get to the film now. On this first clip, really simple, 2x2 set with Tucker Kraft offset to the left here. It's an RPO with a flat drop by the tight end if this edge defender steps inside. He does so, and Jordan Love just flips it out there. Safety Harrison Smith drives down trying to create a quick stop, but Kraft gives him a straight arm right to the crown of the helmet to protect his legs, takes off up the sideline, and then lowers the boom on an awaiting corner for the touchdown. You can really see it from the end zone angle here, how well coordinated he is at beating this first tackle attempt. So working out to the flat, ball gets there, well placed stiff arm, and then the violence he finishes this run with to make it to the pylon. Absolutely love it. Next we have a play from the Rams game in week 5, which I showed on a quarterback-centric episode with Jordan Love earlier this season. Green Bay has a cool design here with what some people call a jet to orbit motion, where they pull this left guard and fake as if they're running like a sweep play to read, but really they have a Mills concept out of this wide receiver stack, then bring the tight end all the way across on this over route into that voided space that they're trying to create, while the back is flaring out into the flats underneath it. It works out perfectly. Kraft catches it out the sideline. He sees the backside corner the whole way and uses his off arm very well to fend him off, then swipes down another arm tackle, tightropes the sideline, and scores a 66-yard touchdown. Again, really cool setup, as you see Reed coming in motion here and working him behind the quarterback. This linebacker, number 51, does widen with the back out into the flats, but he's way too low to at all contest the tight end, who comes wide open. A little no-look beloved to make this even more effective, and now check out the big man rumbling down the sideline, fending off tacklers, and he's gonna score from distance. And then one clip as a run blocker, where the second year man does have some issues as a legit inline option who you might ask to drive edge defenders off the ball. His balance and how he applied force needed some work coming out of South Dakota State, and he has improved in that area, but where he's always been great is when used on the move as a blocker like here. Split back set actually with Reed again here in the backfield, who is used to keep the backside honest as a potential threat. Condensed formation with Kraft in his offset alignment to the right. They bring him in motion, but at the snap he redirects and winds back for this kick out on the backside edge defender as part of a split zone run to the left. Josh Jacobs hits the front side, spinning off the safety for an explosive gain. Peek the backfield action and a sleight of hand to get the ball to the running back here. And then also the oomph on contact with the tight end connecting with the shoulder of number 56 here, negating his impact on the play to get the day started for the Packers. That brings us to Thanksgiving night against the Dolphins at home, where Kraft among others made their presence felt as the clearly more physical team. This first one is a play that the Packers love to run with Kraft, oftentimes as a wingman to the right side here, who they do keep in protection quite a bit or release late, which makes these screen plays available to them. Reed once more the man in motion, and they get him wheeling up the sideline with all 3 receivers pushing vertically, while the center and right tackle are the ones peeling off to lead the way for the screen pass. You see Kraft set this up, catch the ball, then gets vertical, dips inside but realizes number 44 tries to jump that way, so he works around it and gets a nice gain here. From the endzone angle, you see an element of this Ravens-style defense that Miami's brought in with Anthony Weaver at defensive coordinator this offseason, as rookie outside linebacker Job Robinson, number 44, ends up dropping because he's being blocked initially. Kraft engages, but then lets him go, turns around for the catch, immediately gets vertical, and nearly moves the chains on a standard first down call. This next clip is on 3rd and 4, empty set with a running back and tight end as Chip is on the edges, and then working towards open space, with a curl at the bottom and a dagger concept at the top. The Dolphins are running cover 3, So Kraft is going to end up settling between the corner outs here and this hook defender, which is also a safety down low. The tight end allows the momentum of the throw as he settles down here to carry him up the field, kind of splits these two guys converging on him, and adds a good 10 yards to what actually already needed to move the sticks. Let's appreciate, as we flip this around once more, the spatial awareness to settle down in that voided space between those two guys, how he approaches the football, and then the determination to nearly get 20 yards on a simple sit-down or hook route. And finally, one more look at the run game, another split backfield, this time with actual two tailbacks. Pretty much the same concept as we saw this whole thing start with when we were talking about Bucky Irving. As Kraft does the wing here, comes all the way across the formation for this kick out, while the rest of the line kind of blocks down here, almost more like a duo play it looks like. Another cool backfield action where you've got one back working out into the flats. I'm not sure if this is an RPO and you can actually throw this, but either way it pulls the defense out a little bit this way, and you've got Jacobs coming in behind it and taking the handoff to get downhill here, which he's gonna do and rip off 12 yards here, right for the heart of the defense. Watch number 85 here, attached to the hip of the left tackle, at the snap, come across, and bang, crashes into the near shoulder of number 91, while the runner keeps the chains moving, getting right downhill here. That brings us to a third offensive guy, showing some love to the O-line, and another full circle moment, because in last year's edition of this video, I highlighted then Dolphins center Connor Williams, who had developed himself into one of the best at his position before getting knocked out for the second half of the season. He then joined the Seahawks the following off season, didn't at all look like himself, and a couple of weeks ago shockingly retired, so all the best to him. But Miami found a tremendous replacement at the pivot in Aaron Brewer, coming over from Tennessee as a free agent. So far he's allowed 2 sacks, but 0 out of QB hits, and only 6 hurries across 484 pass blocking snaps. He's been instrumental in Tua Tagovailoa, being pressured at the lowest rates in the league at just below 12%, and since the quarterback's return in Week 8, the Dolphins rank 3rd in offensive success rate. Individually, Brewer has been charged with only 3 penalties for 30 yards. He ranks 6th among all centers with 200 plus snaps played, with an overall PFF grade of 76.1, at well above 70 in both run and pass blocking, actually 10th for the position in both, and to be honest, I think he should have graded out even better. Looking at the tape now, Brewer may be really undersized for the offensive line at a listed 295 pounds, which is probably at least 10 pounds higher than what he's actually playing at right now. But what he can do in terms of movement skills at the position is pretty special. Here the Dolphins had an ace duo set, so with a tight end and this typical fullback Alec Ingold in an offset alignment, who they put in motion before the snap for a backside cutoff. But based on the angles everybody else takes, I still label this as outside zone, where you have the frontside combo by the tackle and the tight end, the guards trying to reach and scoop block the 3 and 1 technique here respectively. And what's most important for us here is the center getting on his horse to get to the play side shoulder of the linebacker number 43, who at the snap is still at least on the outside shoulder of the guard. And not only does Brewer beat that guy to the spot, but he starts with a flat angle and then is able to get his hips all the way around to seal the defender that way. And if this is the Von A-chain and or the backside's down safety doesn't haul ass here to trip at Raheem Mostert, this might well be a touchdown, instead of like a 7-yard gain. Next we're looking at the snap and pass protection. Because of the size factor and how the Dolphins passing game is generally constructed, there aren't a ton of situations where the center is put on an island against big nose tackles, although he does do an admirable job of staying low, refitting his hands and staying in control of those reps. Yet what I want to show here is how Brewer makes sure to keep the space between him and his guards clean, and how he handles this TT twist inside. Miami with full line slides to the right from our perspective, but I'm not sure if that is actually what the call is supposed to be, as you don't want really a running back on the defensive end typically. Let's focus however on the guy with the ball in his hand. He's gonna step to the hip of his guard and fit his hands inside, make sure to widen number 91 to where the guy can split the gap. Actually he's gonna be putting him on the ground, then redirects to help out his other guard with this looper before coming back to the man now getting off the ground and making sure Tua gets out there. Like I said, there seems to be a bit of a mix-up the other way as the edge is unaccounted for, but Tua is able to escape that way and find his running back for a huge conversion on his 3rd and 19. And then I have to show one clip from Miami's screen game. Line up in a bunch to the right now. Back also flanked that way in the shotgun. Tua is going to send A-Chain in a little bumper motion to the outside here. But really he comes back underneath for this tunnel screen. You've got the left tackle, the center, and the right guards peeling off their blocks and looking for work in space. Teron Armstead does a great job here of helping out his tight end as they sandwich and kind of bury the safety down here. But now check out number 95, headhunting the safety here, pushes him into the end zone. Really, that guy wants no part of that dude, and they're going to be scoring here. In the Thanksgiving nightcap at Lambeau Field, I thought Brewer was the only guy that truly brought his best for this offense, which has been known to underdeliver in the cold. We'll get right back to the screenplay. This time it's the angle screen, which they've become so proficient at, with A-Chain scoring multiple touchdowns already on this play alone. On this one, it's the 3 interior guys releasing up, although the left guard decides to make sure the nose tackle doesn't chase this down. This time it's the patience by Brewer here that needs to be looked at, as he's going to be flying out into space, then breaking down for this linebacker, snatching him up, and allowing for A-Chain to turn this into a chunk gain. This next one doesn't gain as much yardage, as they're now running inside zone to the right against this wide run for the Packers on a 3rd and extra long, where we've got this combo between the right guard and the center on the free technique, along with this being a call to just get some of the yardage back and improve field position. The issue here is that the D-tackle from the backside, he's going to slant across the face of this left guard and force the back to stretch this out further than he would otherwise. Because as you'll see here, they get great movement on the free technique, to where now it's Brewer peeling off for number 7 here. And it's probably not a first down, but I'd like to see how much most that would have gotten here if number 95 didn't beat his man across the face and chase this down here. And finally, since I did mention the lack of weight for Brewer, you wouldn't think so based on this snap, but he motioned the fullback across and fake a toss play to the left side, with the left guard pulling and the center blocking back. We've got John Smith on this little drag route, and that's actually where the ball's gonna go. Brewer quickly closes down that space, and he's able to firmly place his hands inside. The rusher tries to counter back inside here late, and now check out number 55, putting that dude on the ground and landing on top of him. That's a dominant rep. We do have to move on to the 3 defenders now though, and we begin with Gregory Rousseau, the defensive end for the Buffalo Bills. 6.5 sacks, 19 QB hits, 15 tackles for loss, just one of the high mark for the league by the way, 2 fumbles forced and 1 recovered, 29 defensive stops, meaning tackles that resulted in a positive outcome on the play in favor of the defense. That's tied for 8th among all defensive linemen. He's also tied for 9th with 50 total pressures on 337 pass rush snaps, which is only the 24th most. And if you look at what he's done on true pass sets, meaning no play action, RPOs, or screenplays, he's tied for 6th in pass rush productivity, meaning pressures per rush snap basically, among all defenders with at least 200 of those opportunities. So he's really turned it on in his 4th season in Buffalo, as someone who had just turned 20 years old when he was drafted, and become one of the most efficient rushers in the game. Here's the tape for him. First play against the Jets, lined up over the tight end on this left side, number 50, as part of this overfront to the strong side. New York is running outside zone that way, and as I showed earlier, you'll have a combo between the right tackle and the tight end on this front side, the end. Rousseau is so damn long and strong that he can take on the tight end, yet sort of push off with the inside arm on the tackle here, force that guy to come off him, before taking full control of what is generally a pretty good block inside end in Tyler Conklin, pressing him into the backfield, whilst always keeping his feet moving and not surrender the edge, and then help bring down the runner for stuff right at the line. Next one here is all the way back from week 1 against the Cardinals. Bills are in that wide front that I showed earlier, in a defined dropback situation with a linebacker and a dimebacker down low, who Buffalo will end up blitzing through those 2 A-gaps. Actually with this kind of crosstalk action, as you'll have the running back step up in protection here, which the offense actually does a pretty good job of picking up. But what's important to us is that we have a one-on-one between Rousseau and left tackle Paris Johnson Jr., who was a top 10 pick last year and has been playing very well this season. Coming from that wide alignment, he can use that runway to build up power, and he's gonna start with the long arm here, but then converts the speed as he shows his flexibility to stay on a tight arc and wrap a quarterback Kyler Murray down low for the sack. Let's look at another one from later in the year against the Titans. Now rushing off the left side defensively against someone who has struggled quite a bit, to be fair, in Nicolas Petit-Frere. But this is more about reading what his opponent is doing, oversetting to the outside, I'd say, in order to not get beat around the corner. But as we watch him do that, what this does is allow Rousseau to attack that guy's chest, really apply force to the opposite pec, and then slide inside once he's created an angle for himself to eat up Mason Rudolph here, who gets absolutely obliterated on this sandwich sack between him and number 90. Which brings us to this past Sunday night against the visiting 49ers in a snowstorm at Buffalo. First clip is once again run defense, line up on the offense's right side, which the offense is running split zone towards, with the tight end sifting across away from a man, although you also have the fullback in his offset alignment taking care of the backside, along with Kittle here, who's going to try to find a seam, so it's almost like a designed cutback maybe. But either way, the DN sees that, steps inside, stands up the tackle, now fully locks out with the inside arm, and all of that free technique gets great penetration as he rips underneath the guard to force the runner to quickly cut up inside of him. Rousseau recognizes that, disengages, and now helps wrap up the ball carrier for maybe a yard. Next we'll look at a defined dropback situation on this 3rd and long. So Buffalo calls up a TE twist to the right side to involve number 50. Despite having one of the all-timers in Von Miller rushing off the opposite edge, the Niners have a half slide towards Rousseau. So even though Oliver does an excellent job of attacking the inside shoulder of the tackle here, in order to open up a lane for Rousseau, the center is there waiting for him, and he kind of just crashes into him. However, what I want you to watch here is now as Brock Purdy decides to scramble out to the right, the speed at which this guy works off contact and chases that guy down for another sack. Those two simply don't look like they're from the same species. And Brock can move around pretty good. Finally, now the snowstorm really blowing. Bills with another TE twist off the left side now with Rousseau out here. San Francisco not wanting to risk anything here, just go with a draw play inside to the running back. But of course you don't account for the D-end looping over that way. And Rousseau has missed a few tackles because of how hard he pursues the ball usually. But he does really well here to come to bounds, wrap and finish the play for yet another TFL. Moving on to the second level of the defense now, with second year linebacker Daiyan Henley of the Chargers, who's currently tied for 6th league-wide with 114 total tackles so far. 6 of those resulted in a loss, 4 sacks and QB hits combined, and 5 pass breakups. Now, tackles certainly aren't all built equal, and not all of them are positive by any means, but Henley's also tied for 7th among all defenders and defensive stops with 41, which directly constitute a win for his unit based on down and distance. Henley's also 12th among linebackers with 200 plus defensive snaps with a 70.7 PFF coverage grade, and he's contributed 8 QB pressures on just 46 pass rush snaps. Because of the way he's flying around the field, you'll get some more missed tackles than with the in-between the tackle thumpers, but Henley sits right at around 10%, which isn't too bad considering his style of play and what he's asked to do. I was a big fan of his coming out of Washington State, and I believe had him as my linebacker 2 in that class 2 years ago. Not really playing much as a rookie, but I pointed him out as a potential breakout candidate for this season, because in the very limited amount of time that he was on the field, he really flashed to me. This first clip from his second season now, in LA's game against Pittsburgh early in the year. The Steelers had 11 personnel to create a soft box count for themselves, and they'll run inside zone to the weak side away from the tight end. But check out number 0 here as the Will backer, crashing through the B gap and blowing up Najee Harris for a 4-yard loss. Watch it from the end zone view here, as we have everybody offensively zone blocking to our right, meaning as number 94 attacks that A gap, this should be fairly easy for his guard to climb out directly, not even needing much of a help hand to help secure the down lineman, but he completely underestimates the speed of number 0 here, who blows right past him, rips underneath the shoulder, and racks up the TFL. And he lets those guys know about it as well after the play, which I kinda love. Next we move on to the Titans game. Now looking at the snapping coverage, Chargers with a load front to the right side, meaning they have 3 defensive linemen over there, and they run a twist that way inside, along with cover 2 or cover 6 on the back end paired with it. Doesn't quite play out in a way where we can fully tell. But what's important for us as we look at the offense on the other side is this mesh action over the middle. You've got the running back from the left side out of the split backfield look, working out into the flats that way, where they're going to fake a little bubble screen, all in order to actually set up a delayed screen to Tony Pollard to the left side. And I want you to pay attention now to Henley. Sort through the traffic, then shoot his gun, and help shut this play down before it really has any chance of getting going. Again, as we flip things around and kind of see things happening out of the backfield, you'll see first the motion, quarterback looking that way, whilst you're going to have this traffic over the middle, but Henley just closing that space in a hurry once he sees what's actually going on. And when he does have time to break down in space, he does so for a great wrap-up tackle and to stop this very short. And of course we have to go run defense, coverage, and now look at him as a rusher. The Chargers run a lot of simulated pressures, bail out the linebackers from locked up looks, and change up the picture for quarterbacks at the snap in terms of the underneath zone distributions. However, what Henley does here is line up over the center. He'll act like he's dropping out, only to add in as a blitzer anyway. Otherwise it's a straight four-man rush, and he'll kind of search for a lane, almost act like a spy on this 3rd and 10. So when Joe Burrow escapes to the right, it's that closing burst again that shows up. And even though the quarterback has T. Higgins coming wide open, the hit Henley puts on him forces an errant throw and gets his defense off the field before the Chargers offense sets up a game-winning field goal a few plays later. I'm pretty sure Joe wasn't quite aware of how quickly he get chased down here. But that dude is a freak, and y'all should have known when I said he was a top 50 prospect 2 years ago. Which brings us to this past Sunday at Atlanta. Really weird game, as that defense forced 4 interceptions off Kirk Cousins while having the issues against Bijan Robinson on the ground, but not on this snap in the red zone, where the Falcons are running a toss play into the boundary, into a favorable look pre-snap. But that doesn't account for the wheels of number 0 here, the place-up backer, to shoot that crease and hunt down Bijan. Watch this again from the end zone view and focus in on Henley. He's going to be lined up over the tackle's outside shoulder, because they are at a disadvantage from a numbers perspective and only have the corner out here who's not actually on the screen right now. Wide receiver Drake London pins the end man inside from this reduced split. Falcons pull the tight end and the left tackle out to the corner. They do get a solid block on the outside. But you'll see the tackle has to peel back kind of here to not allow this edge to run on the play, giving Henley this free lane to shoot through and meet the runner deep into the backfield, wrap, drive, and finish. That one had me gasping when I saw it live. Another play versus the run, but this one hits between the tackles. Henley and his partner in crime, Troy Dye, are going to combine for the tackle in the hole to hold this to just about a 2-yard gain, which we kind of have to flip things around to really analyze this. Personally, I'd label this as duo, where we have the motion coming in. We've got double teams by the tight end and left tackle on the backside, and then the center and the right guard here up to the middle backer, a down block by the left guard and the right tackle, and then this wide receiver in motion comes on an inside block up the B gap. Henley stays patient behind the double, because the back could really go either way here, and he understands the space that there is to his left. But when the runner commits to go up the middle, he and number 43 hit him low and drive him backwards in impressive fashion, because that's Tyler Algier, pretty much a human bowling ball. And finally, we have a 4th and 3, where the Chargers show 6-man surface, but they only bring 4 with twists to both sides. Henley's mucked up in the A-gap originally, but he's going to be matched up with Bijan Robinson on his swing route out to the left. And he's going to stay on his back hip the whole way, and now when he improvises, breaking across the linebacker's face, that guy stays glued, and even though the catch is made, he sets the tackle right as the ball arrives there, a yard short of moving the sticks. Of course, the slight little jersey tug away from it here at the bottom bails out Atlanta and gives them a free first down, but Jesse Bates will come up with a game-sealing pick a few plays later. Once more, you see how number 0 doesn't panic at all as he has to get out into the flats here. Now off the screen for a split second, but they're coming back inside now, and he's going to set a great tackle short of the sticks. That is not easy to do. We finish off this video with yet another second-year defender and cornerback Riley Moss for the Denver Broncos. He has collected 53 solo tackles, 1 interception, 8 pass breakups, 1 fumble forced and recovered each. The coverage numbers can always be a bit fluky for any defender in the back 7, but considering he's been tested more than any corner in the league because he's playing on the opposite side of Pat Surtain II, who is clearly by himself as the number 1 corner who's clearly by himself as CB1 right now in the league, I'd say. On 84 targets, Moss has allowed 624 yards, yet only 2 touchdowns, so 7.4 yards per target, and a touchdown on just about 2.3% of his targets. And you have to put that into context, as the Broncos are near the top of the league in the usage of man coverage at over 35%, and they also average in terms of quarters, which oftentimes plays out as quasi-man anyway. Unfortunately, Moss is the only guy we didn't get to see this past week, but his absence was certainly felt as we saw veteran Levi Wallace fill in for him and get absolutely roasted for like 150 yards before getting benched in the second half, and then his backup, I don't know the numbers for exactly, but he got called for like a 40-yard pass interference, so you could definitely tell that he wasn't in the lineup. On the flip side, Moss was flagged for 3 pass interference calls on deep shots early in the season, when refs kind of didn't give him the benefit of the doubt or proven veterans, but since week 5, he's only been responsible for 5 yards in the form of penalties. In terms of missed tackle rates, the bar is a lot lower or higher if you like, in terms of what's passable at the corner position, so around 12% for Moss is actually better than average among corners. Before we get to some of his excellent reps on tape, let's get the obvious thing out of the way. The first white dude at the position in several years by now, but a supreme athlete coming out of Iowa 2 years ago, and he showcases that on a few of these plays I'm about to show you. This first snap comes against the Bucks, who started in condensed 2x2 sets on a big 3rd and 7. The Broncos are bringing a 6 with a crosstalk action between his 2 linebackers inside, and they play cover 1 behind it with the free safety in the middle. That means when Tampa Bay puts number 10 Trey Palmer in motion here, Moss has to trail him all the way across the formation, and they'll try to kind of hide him behind this bunch to get him on his out route right at the sticks. Check out the DB here. Bubble over the top of the action, close that space, and then wrap around for a tremendous PBU. That is great situational awareness, closing burst, and coordination to get that hand on the ball. Which makes his next play that much more impressive here against the Raiders. They started with tight ends to both ends of the line. Motion one of them across into an ace duo set to the left. Moss is over number 11 Trey Tucker in a reduced split. Vegas probably saw how aggressively the young corner attacked the out route a couple of weeks ago, and thought that when they present him with all that space out here in a similar look, that he'd bite on the first break, and they could hit a big play on an out and up. But it's 2nd and long here, and whether they're in cover 3 with a MAC call, meaning Pat Surtain on the backside, he's going to stick to his man, or you want to call this cover 1 again, Moss is isolated with deep responsibility. So he reads Tucker drifting here on the first break, stays disciplined to stick with him as he bounces up the sideline, widens the route, gets his head around, and bats the ball away. That is outstanding work. Which now we have to look at Moss's first career interception from that same game, again 1-on-1 with Tucker on the outside. This time it's definitely one robber, as Surtain trails the motion here with Jacoby Myers, meaning this weak side safety steps down to pick up any trash over the middle, while the other safety rolls deep. He's going to be using an inside press technique to force the release out to the sideline. Check out how far the corner pushes his man out to the sideline here. Plays a look and lean technique, being in perfect control of the route, and now watch him high pound the ball as if he was the wide receiver. That's an amazing rep. Big time stuff. Here's a snap in zone coverage against the Jets. Moss is the backside corner in his 3x1 set, once again with a tight end in a reduced split as a single. By the way, you'll see in a second that it's 3rd and 12. By the reaction of this boundary safety, I'd say this is cover 3, where he steps down, and if there was a threat vertically that way, it'd be Moss's responsibility. Since the tight end stays in protection initially, number 21 stays flat. But he realizes that he becomes what's referred to as the hang corner, meaning he's supposed to fall underneath anything, meaning he's supposed to fall underneath anybody crossing his way deep. He works that way for a second, but understanding what this Jets passing attack has been this season, quickly redirects forwards as the tight end and the running back sit on their routes underneath. The play's kind of extended, and as Conklin learns here on the scramble drill rules, he'll push up in order to work back down towards his quarterback. Yet not only does Moss set the tackle short of the sticks, but he actually drives down, wraps around, and knocks this ball down. That is kind of insane. This guy isn't a great run defender or tackle necessarily, but he does take care of his responsibilities. So here are two more clips from that aspect. First one, the receiver he's lined up over motions inside for yet another inside block as the Panthers try to hit inside as the Panthers try to hit a run inside here, but they still need to be disciplined on the edge if the back decides to bounce this. The safety shuffles out that way, Moss closes down, and they combine for the wrap from maybe like a 2-yard gain. And then to close things out, once more against the Jets, they motion a slot receiver across in this 2x2 set to make him a lead blocker to the left side, while the offset tight end sifts across the formation. The outside receiver to the left side, again in a cut-down split, is supposed to crack back on the safety who's gonna step down. Moss realizes that he now has to replace that guy, steps down, fills the alley, and even though it's not a textbook stop by any means, he goes low and gets the runner to the ground. That's solid. Let's get to a few other players I wanted to just quickly mention here, 4 more on either side of the ball. First up is quarterback Bryce Young of the Panthers, who is starting to receive more attention after getting benched 2 weeks into his second season for him, but last year's first overall pick has looked so much more in control, playing within structure, but also the pocket movement and some of the big time throws he's delivered, even when it's not perfectly on time. The Panthers have still found ways to lose a lot of their games, but he has been outstanding recently, especially in consideration with the second-year quarterbacks, and how the guy picked right behind him in CJ Stroud after a stellar rookie season has kind of struggled recently. I talked about him as part of my Cardinals video 3 weeks ago, but James Conner, the Arizona running back, now down to just third with 54 missed tackles forced on the ground for the year, well over 1,000 scrimmage yards and 5 touchdowns, just got a 2-year contract extension because he's the heart and soul of this Cardinals team with his physical determined running style, and we just saw it last week on like a 15-yard carry where he must have dragged 5 or 6 tackles with him for half of it. 49ers wide receiver John Jennings has really stepped up for a team that lost its number 1 receiver Brandon Ayuk a good month into the season. Third and Juwan is a term that he's lived up to thanks to his physicality to gain positioning on routes and the way he fights for key first downs for a unit that had pieces in and out of the lineup all year long. Zach Tom, the right tackle for the Packers, has only allowed 1 sack and 50 total pressures on over 400 pass blocking snaps this season, and a guy quarterback who likes to hold on to the ball and allow concepts to develop down the field. But Tom has been even better as a run blocker according to PFF, with an 85.1 grade in that regard. Nick Herbig has really stepped up in the absence of Alex Highsmith on the edge for the Steelers. Nick Herbig has really stepped up in the absence of the injured Alex Highsmith on the edge for the Steelers. I talked extensively about TJ Watt in the video contrasting him and Myles Garrett last week, blowing up the field 2-point conversion against the Ravens a couple of weeks ago to seal that win, getting the strip sack on the Bengals this past Sunday. He's been a big play machine for them. Milton Williams, interior defensive lineman for the Eagle, has been one of the most efficient pass rushers on the interior this season, rotating in next to Jalen Carter for this Eagles front that has really emerged, paired up with a much better secondary, well above the pressure every 10 rush reps, freak athlete, and opponents have really had a tough time dealing with him. And then I think people are paying attention to the guy playing behind Milton in Zach Bond, the top-ranked linebacker in the game according to PFF. His 52 total defensive stops, a term I explained earlier, are 7 more than any other player in the league. 3 sacks, a pick, reliable as a tackler in space. He's been a revelation now playing off the ball, compared to his hybrid role that he was in with the Saints, who originally drafted him, and now he's finally living up to our lofty expectations coming out of Wisconsin. And finally, Julian Love, the Seahawks safety, constantly shows up on film, specifically this past few weeks, flying around the field, making key tackles, contesting passes, and getting involved in turnovers. 7 PBUs, 2 picks, 2 forced fumbles. He's been huge in this turnaround that Seattle defense has had, along with Leonard Williams actually, who just had that 92-yard pick 6 against the Jets on Sunday. But that wraps up things for us today. Still a lot longer than I envisioned this to be probably. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and maybe subscribe if you haven't done so yet. What did you think of the list? Do you have any other names you'd like to bring up? Just leave them down below in the comments, along with ideas for future projects, or really anything you'd like to talk about. I'll be checking in. My last video should pop up here on Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt, battling for the title as Edge 1 right now. Highly encourage you to check that out. And then I'll be back next week with my power rankings, heading into the final month of this NFL season. Of course, you can check out all my work at hellosforfootballtalk.com and follow me on social media for more content. Links for all of that are down below in the description. So, until then, see you later. Peace!